Hello, I'm Game Retainer, and in this video I'll be going over a handful of things that you should be doing on day one of your playthrough. This video, as with most of my videos, is aimed at beginners, but if there are any veterans watching and you have other things to add, please drop them down below as it's very useful for the newer players. Now let's jump straight in. As soon as you have loaded into a world for the first time, you should go straight to your challenges. Completing these should be everybody's first priority. These challenges are very easy to complete. You can do them in literally a couple of minutes, and once you've done them, you will gain 4 skill points, which is a nice boost for starting, and you'll find out the coordinates for Traderect. There are a few things that aren't covered in the initial tutorial that I recommend you craft, and that is the full set of primitive armor, and not just the outfit, because it does offer you a fair amount of protection. You should also consider crafting a spear, because you can keep a bit more of a distance between you and any enemies than you can with a club. And the next thing that you should craft is a bone knife. Bone knives are cheap to craft, you only need a couple of bones, and they are not only useful as a weapon, but good for harvesting too, but I'll cover that in a later entry. As I mentioned, once you've completed the beginner challenges, you'll be given the location of Traderect. I highly recommend that you make your way there straight away. However, if you come across any tier 0 POIs, which is a POI with no skull in the corner, as you can see in the top right of the screen now, I highly recommend going inside, clearing out the zombies real quick, and searching the kitchen. Stoves, kitchen cabinets and dishwashers have a higher chance than many other containers at containing a cooking pot. Without a cooking pot, you can't cook anything. So, priority there, grab yourself a cooking pot. Here's one I definitely didn't plant earlier. Also, bonus points if you can find a wrench, because you can make quite a lot of money early on if you use a wrench and break things down. Finding a wrench you will probably find underneath the kitchen sink if you're lucky. However, you can find it in other loot containers. But after this, head to Rect. Once you've reached Rect, you should do the Intro Buried Supplies mission. This takes just a few minutes, and as a reward, you'll get a weapon bundle. Before you leave lovely Rect, have a look in his inventory, and if you've been unlucky and you haven't found a cooking pot so far, see if he has one. Chances are he will. Yes, it's going to be expensive, but you absolutely need one of these as soon as you can. Keep in mind that if you don't find one by the end of the day, you should try and come up with the 600 to buy one. Alternatively, you could stick a point into Better Barter for a 5% discount, which, although is not huge, it will make a bit of a difference. As I mentioned, upon completing the mission, you will get to choose a weapons bundle. I recommend taking the machine gun bundle, as it is by far, in my opinion, the most useful weapon to have early on. That said, do not use the bullets unless absolutely necessary. It's best to try and save them for your first Horde night. Once you've done that mission, while you can continue doing missions, if you're very new to the game, I recommend trying to find a base for the night. This doesn't have to be a permanent base, just anywhere to get you off the streets at night, because, well, zombies run, and that's not good. There are a few good beginner locations that you might want to check out for your first base. I will go through a few of them real quick for those who are new. You have Alistair's cabin, the Mima residence, and Sean's shack. There are loads of other locations that are pretty good early on, but as you may have noticed, all of these are located within the forest biome. If you are new, you should absolutely stick to the forest biome. Once you've selected a place to call home, craft yourself a land claim block. These cost 5 stone and they have a couple of uses. The first use is it prevents other enemies from spawning within this area. So, a POI like this that has existing enemies, they will respawn after a set amount of time. Putting down a land claim block means that they won't come back. Also, another advantage of a land claim block is that you can see it on the map, meaning that you'll never lose where you live. Throughout your first day, there are a few things that you'll want to keep an eye out for. The first is birds' nests. These contain feathers and they have a chance to contain some eggs. Feathers are used for making arrows, and eggs, well, they're eggs, you eat them. Instead of just emptying the bird's nest, you get a few extra feathers if you open it, close it, and then break it. For some reason, a magic backpack will drop, and inside it, you'll gain the feathers that are in there, and as you can see there, I've got some bonus feathers. The other things you should keep an eye out for are small stones, always pick those up. Also, these rocks, if you've got time, it's always worth smashing these up because at night you're going to want to spend the first night in your base, so try and have enough stuff so you can do some crafting. That means getting things like wood and plant fibers too. A couple of other good things to look out for are any of these plants. Any plants at all, I recommend picking up. And that is because they do have their uses. A lot of them, like this one here, can be used to craft things like herbal antibiotics and red tea and whatnot. And you're not going to need that early on, but there is a challenge that requires you to collect 50 of these ones and 50 of these ones. There is no challenge around cotton plants, but they are definitely worth picking up because you can turn cotton into cloth fragments. You can also sell all these to traders, and while they don't sell for a lot, they will sell for a little bit. If you want to make it stretch a little bit further, then consider investing in living off the land, which will double the amount of crops you harvest. The last thing I'm going to shout out on this bit are wooden stumps. I've said this several times across my videos, harvesting these gives you a 20% chance to get some honey. So if you see one of these, break it down, because honey cures any infection up to 5%. So definitely worth taking a few seconds and breaking it down. And also, you do get a little bit of wood, which is better than nothing, isn't it? During the early stages of the game, food can feel like it's quite hard to come by. If you see an animal, like a chicken, be sure to try and take it down. There is something very important you should keep in mind when it comes to harvesting from the animals. Once you've taken down any animal, don't use your axe on it. I'll show you now. If I do use my axe to kill the chicken, I'll get some meat, and that's great. But as you see there, I got 6 raw meat. You do get some feathers and bones, but we'll focus on the meat. So I've got 6 raw meat. If I instead use a bone shiv, which you should absolutely craft as soon as you start a game, I got 10. As you can see, if we take away 6 from 16, it's 10, because I'm smart and good at maths. So you get almost double the amount by using your bone shiv. This works with knives and bladed weapons in general, but obviously on day 1, you can only really craft a bone knife. So use this when harvesting any animal. I'm going to finish this video with something that I've mentioned in other videos of mine. Don't waste the nights. The first few days of a playthrough are scary, especially if you are a new player, and you may want to just hunker down in a corner somewhere and wait. And to a degree you can do that, but it's best if you try and be productive in the night, even if that means you just go through your challenges. You can complete a lot of these challenges providing that you've collected some resources throughout the day, and some of them you don't even need any resources, because unless you've sold it, dropped it or lost it, you should have a torch. Try and get through as many of these as you can throughout the night, and maybe even have a little browse in the advanced section so you can get an idea for some of the more difficult challenges in the game. But anything is better than standing still and waiting for day to break. So hopefully you found this video interesting. As I mentioned at the start of this video, where did you go? Okay. As I mentioned at the start of this video, it is aimed at beginners. I know this game is old, but there are still new players coming to this game constantly, and that's one of the things I love about this, is the world is still very much alive with new players. Hopefully, if you found this interesting enough, I might catch you in the next video.